This next stop on our one-tank trip to Gretna takes us back in time almost 200 years ago. Did you know that it was German immigrants who founded the town of Gretna back in 1836? In honor of that history, you can see it documented and interpreted today at the German American Cultural Center right here on Huey P. Long Avenue. Now, unfortunately, the museum is temporarily closed due to damage from Hurricane Ida, but they will be reopening soon, and I'm so excited that we've been given special access to the museum to talk about this rich German-American history. And joining me now to talk all about it is the director of the Cultural Center and Museum, Miss Carol Schluter. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Willkommen.
Willkommen, is that hello in German?
That's welcome in German.
Why, thank you for having us. I love that. Well, let me just say thank you so much for letting us in here this morning to talk about this museum. Before we talk about all you have to offer, I want to talk a little bit more about the story of how Gretna was founded in the 1830s. What can you tell us?
Well, the original thing that happened was Nicholas Destrehan owned this area. It was the Destrehan Plantation originally, this from the West Bank. This part of the same family that owns Destrehan Plantation up the river. And so he wanted to widen a canal that he had. And so he offered people, Germans who lived across the river in New Orleans, to come over and help dig the canal in exchange for land. So they would have properties here on the West Bank. So that canal became the Harvey Canal.
Yes.
So, which was really a lifeblood of commerce and everything.
And what's really interesting is that Gretna, as we all know it today, that wasn't the original name of this area.
It was not.
What was the original name?
We are standing right now in Mechanicum.
Mechanicum!
Which is named for the German people who came here. A lot of them were laborers. They worked with their hands. You know, they were blacksmiths and railroad workers. You know, so it got named Mechanicum. So that was the original name and it was a few streets, and that was that. Then shortly after that, the St. Mary's Steamship Company, which ran ferries in the New Orleans area, they founded an area that they called Gretna next to Mechanicum. So there were a number of things going on at that time.
And now we know it as Gretna, which is really cool. And what I love is that you all document that history throughout this museum and cultural center. Please tell us about some of the different exhibits that people can see when they come out here.
Well, the very first thing people see when they come in is kind of a timeline and an explanatory history of the first Germans who came to Louisiana 300 years ago. It's the tricentennial, actually.
This year?
This year.
All right.
It's the tricentennial of that, and they came and they settled in the German coast area near Baton Rouge. That was the original settlement. And that was just a few years after New Orleans was founded.
Wow.
So it turned out, it was very difficult. You can imagine the floods and the mosquitoes and the disease and Indians.
Don't remind me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these exhibits talk about the cultural impact, which was major because Germans loved theater, they loved music, and so those Germans in the New Orleans area really had an impact. Mm-hmm. And in the 1890s, German singing societies were really important. They were all over the nation, men mostly. And so they had a big convention here, and it was held, they built a building just for it at Lee Circle, and it was called the Sängerhalle, because Sänger means singer in German.
Yeah.
And this Sängerhalle was huge, and it was a weekend of singing programs by these singing societies, and sadly, after the event was over, the building was torn down. But
all throughout this museum, you all talk about the business impact that German Americans have had, their impact on the wars. But I will say, when you come out here to this cultural center and museum, you really can't miss it here on Huey P, because there's this mural on the building. Please tell us who the artist of that mural is.
Yes, the muralist, he's quite well known. His name is Robert Dafford, and he's from Lafayette. And he came some years back and did these beautiful murals on this building. This building was originally built around 1910. it was a primary school, and we were in the bottom floor, but the top 2 floors were a school. So he painted these wonderful murals, and there are all kind of interesting little tidbits in the murals, including there's a little mural thing that says Mechanicam, 1836.
The original name.
There's another one on the other side that says Gretna, 1913.
Which is when they changed the name.
Yes.
There is so much history here at this Cultural Center and Museum. Carol, thank you so much for joining us this morning to share a little bit of what they have to offer here at the Museum and Cultural Center. They do exhibits, they do events, they also have genealogy as well. So much that you can check out here at the German Cultural Museum and Cultural Center. Remember, they are temporarily closed right now, but to find out when they reopen and more about Gretna's German American culture, log on to gacc-nola.org or check them out on social media at German American Cultural Center. Remember, the museum is located at 519 Huey P. Long Avenue. And remember, to find out when they're reopening, call 504-363-4202. And let me also mention, everyone, it is completely free to come check out this museum. So come on out if you can.